buying off the plan, normally you would meet at a display suite where you will be able to have a look at the architectural floor plans and drawings of the building with some images of what the finishes will appear to be at the end. And you can lock in that property at the price that is available to you at the time. And all you got to do is pay a 10% deposit with the balance due at settlement. So there's no progress payments. You just pay 10% now and the balance when the property is ready.
Okay. And potentially even no stamp duty as well.
Correct. There's huge benefits. So right now you save on the stamp duty, which is a very big thing.
Okay. So it's obviously gotten a bad rap off the plan properties. You know, there are some great projects and it can be one of the best decisions you can possibly ever make. It can also turn into a total nightmare. So I think you said before you're going to give us some tips. So fire away, tell all our listeners your top tips as to how they can make sure that it becomes a dream come true rather than a nightmare.
Look, I mean, locking prices early, getting the luxury finishes and extra time to save, they're all good positives. But when you're purchasing, you've got to be careful. You got to make sure you purchase from a reputable, good developer, because sometimes you can get some serious defects, delays, or even developers go bust. So it's very important to do some research before you commit into anything. So, you know, some developers use materials, promotion materials that show things not the real way. And you might even walk into a display suite, see something amazing, but when you purchase your property, none of those finishes are inside the apartment. So these are some of the tips. Number one, which is one of the important tips, is time to save. So from the time you pay the deposit until the property is ready for settlement, it gives you the sort of time to save some more money. And it also motivates buyers because they got a deadline, it motivates them to save more rather than just waiting for the right property to show up eventually. Locking in a price. So like we also touched before, buying off the plan in a rising market, it's a very good financial sense because when the settlement arrives in 2, 3, sometimes even 4 years, the property has increased in value and you have only 10% of that to depart for that period. So it's a great way to make some good capital gains. Now, this thing that you've got to be careful of is lenders make the call. So if you purchase at a higher market price, when the settlement comes, the lender most likely won't give you the balance that you need to settle. And there'd be a shortfall. So you either need to come up with extra cash or risk losing your 10% deposit. So this is why it's important when you do buy off the plan, do your research and make sure you're buying at the right price. Don't rush in. The waiting game. So while you're waiting for settlement to occur, we all know that circumstances can change. The market fluctuates, bank lending policies change, valuation, all these things can result in reduced borrowing capacity. So that means that the buyer either has an option to on-sell or nominate the property, or they need to have additional funds to make up any shortfall, if there's any. Now, cracks can appear. So, if the apartment doesn't meet the building standards, you won't have to complete the contract of sale, which is not a bad thing because you get up your deposit, so you don't lose anything. But sometimes little things like the quality in the finishes are not what you expected, and there's nothing you can do about that. Once again, make sure you buy from a reputable developer, somebody that's been doing this for a long time, and you can see what they've done and you can trust them. And lastly, developers can go bankrupt. So we've seen this many times. And although if your money is in a solicitor's trust account, of course you're going to get it back. Your money is safe. But if you're waiting for 4 or 5 years, the market after 4 or 5 years might have changed and increased so much that you can no longer get into the market and buy what you had originally secured. So these are the sort of 6 tips and things to watch out for when purchasing off the plan.
And I assume anyone who's keen to do that, 1-800 buy from Lucas.
I couldn't have put it better myself.